What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the KN Poker Vlog. I know you guys are probably thinking, oh man, where have you been? What have you been doing? Why has it taken you so long to put out another video? Well, we'll kind of get to a lot of that later on in the video. There's been a lot of things going on in my life, and yeah, we'll get to that later. But this video is actually an older poker session that we had at Capital Casino in Sacramento. It's a meetup game. We had a ton of vloggers. We had Doug McCusker. We had Andrew Locke, Check Race Charles, Fish Poker, Think Blue Poker, Jeff Stimson. I liked the venue. They were just super friendly. Everyone was friendly. All the players at the table were really nice and friendly, and definitely got into a lot of different types of hands. So I know you guys are here for one thing and one thing only, and that's to see some hands. So without further ado, let's hit the felt. Okay, so everyone's getting settled in. We initially have 3 tables rolling and all the players are ready to rumble, and then Fish Poker announces that he's going to be giving away 1 shirt to each table to the player who wins the first pot. Well, you already know that I'm competitive and I'm going to gun for it. Luckily, when I look down at my cards under the gun, I don't have too big of a decision to make. I get Ace King to start off this session. Feels good. I open to 16 and it doesn't seem like anybody else wants the shirt except for the big blind. He makes the call and we're going heads up to the flop. It comes down king, king, jack, rainbow. Man, if this is how the session is going to go, then we're going to have an amazing run at this meetup game. The big blind looks at the flop and checks. I'm not going to let him see any cards for free, so I place a bet of 20. Not too small, but also not too big to push him off hands like medium pocket pairs and all pairs of jacks. He makes the call, and now we see a turn, which is the 4 of diamonds. He checks again, and now I feel like doubling my last bet. I put out 40, and he quickly cuts out 40 in the betting circle. The dealer now flips over the river, and it is the queen of spades, and he checks for the 3rd time. This card can be bad if he's holding king queen or possibly ace 10. I think if he had king queen, we might have seen more aggression on one of the earlier streets. Hard for me to put him on ace 10, calling on the turn on a paired board out of position. I think he's holding something like queen jack, jack 10, or maybe just a medium pocket pair that he's getting sticky with. With that said, I don't think he's calling a big bet, and now all medium pocket pairs and jacks might fold to a bigger bet. So, I mean, there still is a queen out there. I size down and value bet 30. If he raises me, it's gonna suck, but I can't just let him get to showdown for free with this big of a hand. He makes the call, I show my hand, he taps the table, and we win this pot. More importantly, we win the shirt. Shout out to Fish Poker. The table is getting super friendly, having drinks, enjoying themselves. There's a lot of banter of crypto, NFTs, and who can drink the most. My buddy is in seat 4 and he joins in on the talks of a chugging contest. We might get to that a little bit later. Second hand of note is when we have queen 10 of clubs under the gun. I open to 12. We get a bunch of callers and the big blind 3 bets to 28. Obviously, with a small re-raise here, we're not going to fold. I toss in some chips to make the call, and basically everyone who called previously makes the call again. I think it's probably maybe 6 ways to the flop. The flop is 6-5 deuce with 2 clubs. Probably one of the better flops for our hand, considering this is super multi-way. We pick up 2 overs and a flush draw. Big blind now leads into the field for 35, leaving himself only 42 behind. Normally, if there was only 1, maybe 2 people behind, I would make a raise here to isolate the big blind with this much equity heads up, but I just call here since everyone else could have sets or hands that won't be folding. Only middle position and hijack make the call. The turn is another 5. Not a great card, but when the big blind chips it in for his remaining 42, I can't fold, and I don't want to raise a dry side pot. I toss in the call, and so do the other 2 players. I almost feel like no matter what the river is, I will not win this pot. They can easily have flush draws, and the big blind is playing like he has a huge pair. The river is an offsuit, deuce of diamonds, and now I just give up. I check, both players behind me check, and the big blind shows pocket aces. He scoops this pot and avoids getting sucked out on, which is crazy because it was almost a family pot to start off with. Once again, picking up ace king, this time of hearts, this time in the cutoff. There is a straddle to 10, and when it gets to me, I open to 35. Everybody folds except the straddler. He makes the call, and we see a flop. It's jack 10-4, all red, but only 1 heart. Not the greatest of flops, but we do have 2 overs, a gut shot, and a backdoor flush possibility. He checks, and being the pre-flop aggressor, along with having decent equity in this hand, I'm just going to down bet to 25. It accomplishes putting him to a decision as well as building a pot just in case I find some better cards on the turn or river. He obliges and puts in the 25. Down bets are cool sometimes, but it's harder to put players on a hand because they will be priced into calling with a wide range. You know, kind of looking back at it now, maybe this flop isn't the best to down bet on. I think maybe a half pot or 3/5 pot size bet might have been better, but it's too late now. There are no take backs. We go to a turn which brings the king of clubs. This is probably the second best card in the deck after a queen. The straddler checks again, and now I size up to 105. If he's holding queen 9 or ace queen, I'll probably see a check raise here. If not, I feel I'm ahead and I want to charge him to continue with this hand. He thinks for a bit, but then ends up folding. Next hand we get, there's another straddle, but this time it's for $25. The game is heating up and people are ready to gamble. I'm in middle position, and when it gets folded to me, I look down at ace jack. If I'm entering the spot, I'm gonna be raising. I make it 75 to go. It gets folded to the straddler. He just slides in some chips for a call. Not sure what this means, but maybe we'll find out soon. He decides to even be more deceptive and checks in the dark. Dealer deals out the flop, which comes out king 9 deuce. Even though we don't hit a pair, this hand is good for my range as I will have a lot of kings and high pocket pairs. His premium holdings will really only be 9-9, deuce deuce, and the occasional king 9. Since there is no flush draw and all straight draws will be gut shots, I feel confident in putting in a continuation bet here. I choose to down bet to 50. Unlike the previous hand, this is the type of flop and type of situation to down bet frequently with a lot of holdings. It feels like he wants to fold, but then surprises me when he puts in the call. I'm not too happy with this since I mentioned there are basically no draws here, so that means he's calling with a pair most likely. The turn is a blank, it's a 5 of hearts. This was most likely no help to him, and in his eyes, no help to me when he checks. I basically have to put him on a king or 9. I didn't feel like he was going to fold to another bet unless it was a big one, so I just checked back, hoping to catch up on the river. The river is an interesting card. It is the jack of hearts. I finally hit a pair, and if he doesn't have a king, then I think I'm good. I feel extra confident that I'm good after he checks the river, and now I need to think of sizing for value. What would he call with a 9 here? The jack is kind of bad for him, but I slowed down and maybe he might think I'm bluffing. I figured he might have, 100 that he'd be able to call. He was very reluctant at first after I bet the 100, but then eventually makes the call. I table my hand and he shows a pocket 6s. Wow, he called me super light. His initial read was good, but then I guess he got unlucky on that river. Maybe I shouldn't bluff him this session. All right, king jack offsuit in the big blind, and under the gun straddles to 8. It folds back to me and I raise to 28. The straddler does not want to give up his $8, so he matches the bet and we go to a flop of queen queen jack. Not the most ideal flop, but can't complain when we hit a pair. The second queen on the flop also lowers the chances of my opponent having a queen, so I don't mind it as much. Still, I check for pot control seeing as I am out of position and he checks back. Good sign for me, but he could be slow playing a queen, so I do have to tread carefully. The turn is an 8 of spades, everything considered, not a bad card. This is where I fire out 35 to find out where I'm at, as well as to get some value out of hands that may have a 9 or a 10 in them. I can also get him to call with a worse jack a decent amount of the time. He makes the call and we go to a river. I'm hoping that we avoid a 9 or a 10. And we do not. It is the 10 of clubs. Horrible card as it brings in the one-liner to the straight, and I just check it over to him to see what he wants to do. I'm happy to see that he checks back. I table my hand and he throws his cards in. Another pot 1. We are nearing the end of the mug and find a pretty hand in the cutoff with ace 10 of hearts. For some reason, I really like this hand, even though it's tough to play sometimes. You'll hardly ever have the best kicker if you hit an ace, and a 10 on the flop is rarely the highest card on the board when all 5 are shown. But nonetheless, here we are. Under the gun +1 raises to 15. Middle position calls, and this is a spot where I could 3-bet, but under the gun +1 normally has a tighter range and usually has a premium holding here, so I elect to call. Small blind and big blind come along as well. We are going super multi-way to the flop, and we see ace 10, 7. Amazing flop, flopping top 2 pair. It would be better if we had a backdoor flush draw to add to it, but beggars can't be choosers. I'm hoping someone takes the betting lead, but that does not happen and it gets checked to us. Obviously, I have to put a bet in. I bet 50. Only the original raiser calls. Heads up to the turn. of the 8 of clubs. It may seem a little scary on the surface, but I don't think he's raising from +1 with any hand that completes a straight or 2 pair with that card. And the obvious flush draw comes in, but I would assume that he would want to bet his nut flush draws and keep the betting lead. He could have checked a smaller flush like King Queen of clubs, King Jack of clubs, but I guess we'll find out soon. I place a bet of 85 here. I think we can get the information we need from this sizing. He makes the call relatively quickly. Usually this is a good sign that he doesn't have a flush because most people will check raise that turn. Now to the river, it's a horrible one. It's the 3 of clubs. Now any club beats me. And after he checks, I'm not going to turn my hand into a bluff. I just check back and he shows us the bad news as he turns over King Jack with the Jack of clubs. Sucks that we couldn't hold, but at least we didn't have to call a bet on the river. So I just did my last table change as all the vloggers are going around to each table for an hour at a time. I'm hoping to pick up some big hands and get paid off. This session has been a little slow for the most part. Lots of hands I've picked up have just been folded on the flop or withdraws. A couple of minutes after I sit down, I look down at a premium hand, Ace King once again, this time in middle position. I open the pot to 15. Guy to my left calls, hijack calls, and the big blind calls. So we're going 4 ways to a flop, and it is Ace 10 7. Rainbow, pretty damn good flop here. You know, obviously having top pair, top kicker, really only scared of kind of like Ace 10 and maybe pocket 7s. The big blind checks and I fire out 25. It folds back to the big blind and he makes the call. The turn is another 10, the 10 of hearts, and he runs the stop and go on me and leads out for 65. This usually will be a hand like Ace Queen, Ace Jack, maybe trying to see if I have a hand. It could also be a 10. This opponent seems like a solid reg and a thinking player, so I can give him credit for a 10 because a lot of good players will bet a 10 here, think that lots of aces will check back here for pot control. Either way, I can't fold. I make the call and we go to a river, which is another 10. It's the 10 of diamonds. 3 10s on the board makes it less likely that he can have one, which is good. We have around 300 plus behind and he covers us. With not much hesitation, he goes all in. This is such a gross spot. He's using the Zebo theorem on me and I can't do anything about it. He's probably not bluffing with the type of action on the previous streets, and he has an ace for a chop pot at the bare minimum. I mean, on the flip side, I can't just fold here. It's too nitty. It's too exploitative. I make the crying call and he shows Jack 10 of spades for quads. Ugh. I get felted here and I rebuy for the max, but unfortunately, I don't pick up any more hands to try to get my money back. In the end, we didn't do too well. We lost about 750. Now I know what you're thinking. Didn't see that many hands where you lost that much money, but there were a lot of hands in there where, you know, I lost small to medium-sized pots, but those hands weren't really, I guess you could say, epic enough to kind of put in the video, or wasn't interesting enough. It was more like raise pre-flop, called a bet on the flop, you know, called a bet on the turn, and maybe whiffed on the river or something like that. But, you know, those pots add up, so yeah, that's kind of what happens. Okay, quick announcement, guys. I have partnered up with an NFT project called No Limit Llamas. I'm sure you've heard of them before from other poker vloggers like So Rude, Pokerface Ash, Branson, Next Gen Poker, and the list goes on. I connected with one of the founders. His name is Max, and instantly fell in love with the project. The main reason I wanted to partner up with them was that they plan on opening up a poker room in the metaverse. Yes, that's right. Once that happens, all NFT owners will start to earn passive income on the rake for those games. So I thought this was a great opportunity for myself. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh man, he's just trying to sell me on some NFTs and make a percentage on it. That's not the case. I mean, they are available to mint right now on OpenSea for 0.15 ETH if you want to, but I don't make any money off of that. In fact, I want you guys to get one for free. And how do you do that? Well, there's a free roll tournament happening this Thursday on the 17th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time that I'll be playing in, and the winner will be gifted one free NFT from the collection. That's right, you heard it here first. This is your chance to either get into the NFT game or build your portfolio and potentially cash in huge later on. If you're interested in playing in the free roll or even just learning more about the project, click the link below, join the Discord, and you can also visit their page at nolimitllamas.io. Well, thanks for sticking to the end of the video, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I guess this is the segment where I talk about, what's been happening in my life and why it's been taking so long to put out a video. As some of you, or maybe most of you know, I just had a baby boy a little over 9 months ago. So he's definitely been, taking up a lot of time as well as work. Just got a promo. So been having to do a lot more work, having a lot more responsibilities. Another big factor would be just kind of getting fatigued by YouTube and editing those videos. I'm not too sure if any of you guys realize how long it takes to edit a video, especially for someone who knows absolutely nothing about editing. I have no editing background, no media background, nothing like that. So it takes a really long time to edit these videos, and putting a lot of work in, just kind of getting fatigued. So I feel refreshed now. I feel ready to go. I've got some sessions kind of backlogged, and I plan on playing more sessions and being able to record those and bring those hand histories to you guys, because I know you love seeing them. So once again, I appreciate everyone who stayed to the end of the video, and everyone who has watched this video. If you do like this video, just make sure to kind of hit that like button, subscribe. You know the deal. Write a comment in the comments box, whatever it is. Let's try to boost this algorithm and get this video to have a lot more views. So thanks guys once again, and I really hope to kind of continue putting out videos for you guys. And yeah, I'll see you on the felt next time. Just remember, don't be ducking it. Run like Usain Bolt. Peace.